Hi, Steve Glazer. Thanks so much for joining me here.
You're welcome.
So let's get started. You've been involved with Democratic candidates and causes for over 30 years, and yet none of those entities came out in support of your campaign. How did that happen?
Well, I guess I call myself a Democrat with a difference. I'm a fiscally conservative Democrat, and where I see that our government systems aren't working, I've been willing to step up and speak out. And that has not made the leadership of my party very happy at times, and certainly many of the special interests that are very involved in the Democratic Party very happy. And so you pay a price for that when you run for office, that if you're not going to be with them all the time, then they're not going to be with you at all. And I think that's what I faced in my election.
Now, some of the campaign materials against you painted you as a corporate Democrat, someone in bed with big business, etc. Is that fair?
It wasn't fair. In fact, it was a smear. But that's the hard knuckles politics that we can experience out there. I mean, it's why a lot of good people don't run for office, because a lot of the issues that you want to talk about don't become the issues that you talk about. I came out against the BART strike. And so talking about whether BART should have the right to strike or not would be a fair game in a campaign like I just experienced, but there was very little discussion of that. The BART unions and their union allies had no interest in debating transit policy. So it was much more comfortable for them to say I was a candidate of big tobacco or big oil, creating things, making things up, because they didn't really want to talk about the issues where we differed.
And what effect do you think this has on the future of the Democratic Party to be aligned so specifically, in your estimation, with some special interests?
Well, it's ironic that the Democratic Party is probably at their zenith for if you go back the last 30 or 40 years. They control, this past year, 2/3 of the votes in the Assembly and the Senate. They control every state constitutional office. Yet I think it's on a wayward course, because what has happened is that the leadership has required candidates and office holders to adhere to a very strict agenda of opinion, or else they're seen as not being a good Democrat. And so we've gotten more extreme within the Democratic Party, as it has happened with the Republican Party. And they don't allow a room for diversity of views. And while we talk about as Democrats that we're a party of diversity and tolerance and open-mindedness, it's actually becoming less and less so. And so candidates for office like me that are willing to call out issues that I disagree with the leadership, that's not something that they want to see happen. And there's a payback that comes when you do that.
Do you fear that there will be, or do you predict that there will be a backlash of sorts of persons, Democrats, maybe moderate Democrats, who aren't necessarily aligned with that orthodoxy, who are looking for other candidates?
Well, I think that part of our problem of politics today is it's all polarized. The Republicans and the Democrats are in their corners, their extreme corners. And what we need to do is build a center in the legislature of Republicans and Democrats that are open-minded, fiscally responsible. And that's not an easy place it's not easy to create that. You know, you campaign as you govern as you campaign. And to win a campaign today as a centrist means you get people shooting at you from all sides. And it's a challenging place, but I think it's where we need to move our politics. It's a healthier place for our politics. But and if you look at the rise of third parties, or actually at the rise of decline to states, people are seeing the Republican and Democratic Party as less friendly to their point of view. And they're seeing that polarization and that intolerance for a centrist view. And that's why both parties are declining in membership, and the decline to state is rising. And I think that's how things are going to continue to evolve. And maybe that's going to create a better environment for a centrist candidate to be successful.
Well, I mean, running for office is an expensive endeavor, especially here in California. And yet you were backed by developers and real estate interests and other corporate interests. How do you deal with the fact that you have to raise money, and yet you want to maybe not be beholden or portray yourself as not beholden to special interests?
Well, most of the money that I raised came from individuals. So for one, there's a misunderstanding there, that if you can build a constituency of friends and associates that have worked with you in the course of your civic life, and I've been on my city council for many years, and I've been involved in my community for many years, that is a better place to have funding for a campaign. I did receive support from business. It wasn't the largest share, and it did help me make me a more viable candidate. But I noticed in your question that you accepted some of the frame, a corporate Democrat or a business Democrat, as somehow being a negative. I think that it's an unfortunate, one of the early fights between the extremes is how you frame the debate. And as a centrist, I think being a business Democrat is a healthy thing that shows that you want to, you believe in free enterprise and you believe in job-creating businesses rather than job-creating government.
One final question. Are you going to be endorsing either Tim Sbronte or Catherine Baker?
I'm open to talking to both of them, but I want to hear from both of them whether they're willing to embrace some of the independent elements of my platform. Can they be candidates that will represent the citizens from the center, not from the extremes of their parties?
Thank you so much. I'm Melissa Griffin with KPIX 5.